democracy in Kenya since then, and the Limuru 3 conference is currently ongoing, with civil rights activists taking stock of the constitution. Let's listen in.
The constitution to accommodate their power struggle, and they keep shifting sides. Yeah? Wakopande hii, lakini wako ndani. So their ideology is some animals are more equal than others. So, as I conclude, what are we to do? Those of us who believe that all animals are equal, we must unite our struggles. And we must identify our enemy. Our enemy is a state and a political class that has refused to be reformed since 1963. Every time you try and reform it, it regroups, subverts the process, and it ends us up where we are now. So tukitoka hapa, mimi nasema tuamue. What we need from here is to recognize that we need a movement, an organization. We unite our struggles because we are going to fight these people for a long time. They are not going away. Tomorrow. This state will not. The mistake we make is because of our other affiliations with these people, we are the same tribe, we are whatever, we think that they are good people. Yeah? We think that they are good people. But you can see, so we have to unite all our struggles. I mean, we are in the struggles of pastoralists, the struggles of border people, the struggles of education, people who are looking at this sort of globalization, capture of our education. We have to unite, ask ourselves from today, how do we unite our struggles and do 2 things? First, to be able to engage this new thing they are trying to do as a united force. Because we must not allow them to use the constitution to reorganize themselves for power. We must not.
David Ndi speaking at the Limuru 3 conference there, and Zainab Ismail is also in attendance and will be bringing us a comprehensive report in our subsequent bulletins. Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. is accusing the Senate and National Assembly speakers for failing to effectively consult their respective members over the county revenue allocation stalemate. Kilonzo also slammed ODM's Junet Mohammed and Minority Leader John Mbadi's proposal to abolish the Senate through a referendum.
Je, ni ungwana kaunti 47 ziongezewe bilioni 2 peke yake, ilhali kitengo kama NYS kimepatiwa bilioni 10, imeongezewa bilioni 10 mwaka huu. Kitengo kama cha laptop ambazo hazijawahi kufanya kazi mpaka saa hii zimetengewa bilioni 8. Sisi tumeuliza ni kwa nini vitengo vya idara ndogo ndogo zimeongezewa bilioni 10 na sisi tukizungumzia bilioni 20 baina ya kaunti 47, inakuwa kuna utata. Huo utata, na pesa hizi tunazungumzia si pesa za mshahara. Pesa ambazo tunazungumzia ziongezwe kaunti ni zile pesa ambazo zinapeleka huduma kwa mwananchi wa kawaida. Ni zile pesa ambazo zinaleta madawa hospitalini, zinafanya kaunti zinunue ambulance na mambo mengine ambayo yanasaidia wananchi.
University workers under the umbrella body Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions, Hospitals and Allied Workers, KUDEHA, have opposed the government's plan to merge universities. According to KUDEHA, it is unnecessary and unconstitutional to merge the institutions which are supposed to be in different parts of the country. They want the Education Cabinet Secretary, George Magoha, to involve all the stakeholders before going ahead with the proposal.
About merging of universities is unnecessary, late, and above all, not in conformity with our constitution. The Education Act, more specifically Education Universities Act, states clearly, and I would like Professor to go back to the Act, that it is encouraged every county shall have a public university in Kenya. So we are wondering, as workers, where is it coming from? Where is this proclamation coming from? When we know very well the Act regulates all public universities in Kenya.
From matters education to matters security, the residents of Olposimoru bordering Narok and Nakuru counties are calling on the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination to withdraw the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew that was placed last September due to ethnic clashes. The residents say peace has been restored in the region.
It is a handshake between communities that have been at loggerheads with each other. So bad was the situation in Olposimoru at the border of Narok and Nakuru counties that the government imposed a curfew. Residents say peace has been restored in the area and that they want the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. restriction lifted.
Amani yenu ndiye tafanya hii curfew itole. Tunaomba nyinyi mkikaa kwa amani, kuna wale wenye wakubwa huko watatoa hii curfew. Lakini kama hamwezi kaa kwa amani, basi mtaendelea kuumia tu.
Last year, several lives were lost in the clashes and houses set ablaze from Goben in Narok South and in Olposimoru, forcing the government to deploy general service officers in the region to restore peace. A curfew was then imposed last September. Cattle theft and illegal logging are some of the issues that contribute to insecurity in this area. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Kenyans and Tanzanians will continue to be governed by laws in the respective countries without favor or diplomatic interference. Referring to Tanzania national Rashid Charles Mberesero, who was handed a life sentence after being found guilty of aiding the 2012 terrorist attack on Garissa University that claimed over 150 lives, Tanzanian President John Magufuli said his country would not interfere with the judicial process in Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who concluded his two-day visit to the neighboring Tanzania, shared the same sentiments. The two leaders further agreed to establish a natural gas trade agreement.
Mtu akiharibu Kenya asitafute kisingizio. Sheria za Kenya zitatumika, atashughulikiwa hivyo hivyo. Mkenya akiharibu Tanzania kwa kisingizio kwamba yeye ni Mkenya, atashughulikiwa kikamilifu hapa hapa Tanzania kwa sheria za hapa. Hii inasaidia wahalifu wasiwe na excuse ya kukimbilia mahali fulani na kwenda kujificha. Na ndio maana hata mtu akikosa kule akahukumiwa, kuna wengine wamehukumiwa miaka jela maisha hivyo hivyo, na mimi nampongeza tu, ili mradi hakuna uonevu, na mimi nafikiri hili ni lazima tulifanye kikamilifu.
Tungependa kuona mawasiliano ikirudi vile tulikuwa tunatembea na tunatumiwa Ziwa Victoria kufanya mambo ya trade, kutransport watu, zile meli ambazo zilikuwa kule kwetu Kenya. Tuko na MV Uhuru hapa, tuko na MV Victoria na zingine nyingi. Tunataka tuzirekebishe na ndio watu waweze kuanza kutumiwa ziwa kutransport mizigo, mafuta, na pia binadamu waweze pia kuzunguka vile ilikuwa. Watu walikuwa wanatoka Mwanza wanaenda Bukoba, wanaenda Jinja, Kisumu, alafu wanarudi Lapio wakifanya biashara pamoja.
Finally, some light at the end of the tunnel of the situation that is Sudan. Sudan's military council deputy head Mohamed Hamdan Dagolo announced the reaching of an agreement between the military council and Sudan's protest movement during a general meeting in Khartoum. The ruling military council and protest leaders agreed Friday to form a joint civilian military governing body. The deal followed 2 days of hard-won talks brokered by Ethiopian and African Union mediators after negotiations collapsed in May over who should lead the new body, a civilian or soldier. The agreement stipulates that the new governing body will be presided over by a military nominee for the first 21 months and the last 18 months by a civilian. It is expected to be ready for signing by the two sides early this week, although the draft has postponed the formation of a 300-seat transitional parliament that had been agreed upon in previous talks. Sudan's army ruler, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, vowed Saturday to implement the power-sharing deal agreed with demonstrators as the protest campaign cancelled a nationwide day of civil disobedience later this month. Further afield, Southern California appeared to have avoided the worst Saturday after it was rocked by a second powerful earthquake in as many days. The second was a 7.1 magnitude tremor that revived fears of the so-called big one the region has feared for decades.
Here you can see the skulls.
No fatalities or serious injuries have been reported from the second quake, the largest in Southern California in more than 2 decades. But the earth's mighty twitch shook buildings, damaged roads, and rattled people, still jittery from a 6.4 magnitude earthquake in the same region on Thursday. Hardest hit was the town of Clona, east of Ridgecrest, where between 20 and 50 buildings were damaged. The latest quake was 11 times stronger than the 6.4 magnitude foreshock the previous day, according to the United States Geological Survey. The two major quakes, along with multiple aftershocks, have revived fears of the big one, a powerful tremor along the San Andreas Fault that could devastate major cities in California. The earthquake was the largest in California since 1992, when a 7.2 magnitude quake hit a remote stretch of the state's northern coast.
UNESCO has inscribed Myanmar's ancient capital of Bagan as a World Heritage Site. This has come nearly a quarter of a century after the complex of Buddhist temples was first nominated for listing.
The UN World Heritage Committee met in Azerbaijan to decide on the latest sites to be given the honor awarded to areas or landmarks considered important for the whole of humanity and protected by international treaties. The decision recognizes the importance of the central Myanmar site. The site consists of more than 3,500 stupas, temples, monasteries and other structures built between the 11th and 13th centuries. The development raises hope amongst natives of an increased touristic attraction to the site. Bagan was first nominated as a World Heritage Site in 1995, but the military junta that ruled the country at the time was accused of ignoring experts' advice on restoration efforts, and the nomination was rejected. Many of Bagan's ancient pagodas and temples were damaged in an earthquake in 2016, raising concern about the future of the site. At the time, the Department of Archaeology and National Museum announced that 300 monuments needed renovation. The World Heritage Committee inscribed other new sites. Among them are 2 natural sites, one in France and one in Iceland, a mixed natural and cultural site in Brazil, and 2 cultural sites in Burkina Faso and Iraq. The committee also approved the extension of the transboundary natural and cultural heritage site of the Ohrid region in Albania and North Macedonia.
Back still outside the country, but relating to matters here at home, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta has joined other African First Ladies in appealing for increased resources in the fight against cancer in Africa. She spoke during the first day of the 23rd Organization of African First Ladies for Development General Assembly. Margaret Kenyatta attended the meeting in her capacity as the Vice President of the organization and at the invitation of Dr. Lala Malika, the First Lady of Niger and host of the meeting. The First Lady was accompanied joined by Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma to the event that saw First Ladies from all over Africa make a rallying call to action against cancer. At the event, the First Ladies recognized the importance of universal health coverage, the universal health coverage agenda adopted by most of the governments they represent. They urged the governments to include cancer as a part of the diseases covered. Kenyans were urged to join cooperative societies during the Ushirika Day. Speaking in Mombasa during an event to mark the World Cooperatives Day, the Cooperatives Alliance of Kenya Chief Executive Officer Daniel Marube said a standardized national policy on activities of cooperative societies would spur growth across the 47 counties.
Members of different cooperative societies in Mombasa turned out in large numbers at the Mkomani showground to mark the Ushirika Day. They took part in different activities during the event. Speaking during the event, the Cooperative Alliance of Kenya Chief Executive Officer Daniel Marube noted that cooperative society activities are a devolved function held by the county governments, but collective responsibility is imperative.
We know one or two people or two organizations which have taken and misused their members' money in the name of cooperatives, and yet we know very well they have never even held an AGM and their books have never been audited.
Elsewhere in Tharaka Nithi, while addressing members of cooperatives at Chuka DC grounds after launching a coffee roaster at Giampompo, Governor Muthomi Njuki urged the residents to embrace farming.
Ni kupigana na national government ambaye imefanya devolution na itaki kufanya devolution. Kama agriculture ni devolved, kwa nini fertilizer na wacha kwa kilimo house? Kwa nini kila county iwezi pewa pesa yao ya kununua fertilizer?
Governor Njuki also urged the national government to stop interfering with agriculture. Nuru Abdul Aziz, NTV.
In some breaking news, football legend Joe Kadenge has died. Considered as one of Kenya's greatest football players, he passed on in a hospital in Nairobi after ailing for a number of years. Early this year, Kadenge suffered a stroke after the death of his daughter. The family confirmed the demise this morning. His body will be transferred to Lee Funeral Home this afternoon. He played for the AFC Leopards in the 60s, winning the league in 1966. He also had a stint as the Harambee Stars coach decades after donning the national jersey. He was 84 years old. May his soul rest in eternal peace. For some more international news, Malawi's re-elected President Peter Mutharika condemned protests that have gripped the country over the disputed result of a May vote, saying organizers wanted to turn the country into a lawless society. The Southern African nation has seen nearly 2 months of protests by demonstrators who dismissed the election as fraudulent.
About 20,000 mainly supporters of Malawi's President Peter Mutharika thronged Kamuzu Stadium in Blantyre for the anniversary celebrations a day after scores of protesters converged at the same venue for a vigil against his re-election.
Violence, you see, is calculated to turn Malawi into a lawless state. That's why they want to undermine every democratic institution that ensures law and order in this country.
Lazarus Chakwera, a leader of the largest opposition, Malawi Congress Party MCP, who alleges he was robbed of victory, and former Vice President Saulos Chilima of the United Transformation Movement UTM party, have been taking part in the protests.
What they're trying to do is to try to destabilize this country and take over this government. Let me assure them that they'll talk about this government of my dead body. They will never, never, never take over this country.
Opposition leaders claim correction fluid was used on some results sheets and have lodged cases in court.
They say success is no accident, and 27-year-old Millicent Ntinyari knows this all too well. Millicent is a flight attendant, has a taxi business, runs an online clothing shop, offers photography services, and is pursuing an undergraduate degree in public relations and electronic media. This mother of one is clearly a Jackie of all trades and shared her driving force with Gladys Gashanja on this week's Women in Power.
My name is Millicent Ntinyari. I'm a mother of one daughter. I'm a cabin crew member here at Air Kenya. I also do taxi business, that is Taxify. During my free time, like when I leave my business here at Air Kenya, so I also sell clothes online, merchandise. It's basically Mtumba, fast camera though, online. And then I also do photography services, photo mounting, canvas printing, or anything to do with photo printing and stuff like that. I've been at Air Kenya for 4 years now. So I first started that as a receptionist before I became a cabin crew member. Back when I was doing pharmacy at KMTC, I went for my internship in Mombasa. So there's this friend of mine, I used to tell all the time, I would like to be a cabin crew member one day, but I didn't know what it would take for me to be there. Baggage claim after the barrier to the right, okay?
Beautiful. Great.
I just had it in me, the thing of flying and traveling, because traveling is one of my biggest passions. We're now ready to board our flight service to Masai Mara. I mostly do the morning shifts here at Air Kenya. You see, we have our check-in here. So for us, it's cabin crew, you double up as a check-in attendant and a flight attendant. My day starts at 4:30 in the morning. When I wake up, 5:30, 5:45, we should be at work. So I get here at Air Kenya around that time. Today I had a flight at 7:30. So mostly, so you start your day, you do the paperwork in the morning, you check in passengers. Then when time for your almost 30 minutes to your flight time, you go for a pre-flight, and then we go for the flights. After 1 o'clock, then, you know, now I can switch on my app because I'm done with my official formal duties at Air Kenya. Mostly I get to get clients coming out of Wilson because some needs to go to JKIA for an international flight, some just need to go home. I can do about 1 or 2 rides. My sister, she's the one who manages the SN Trendywear business. I actually started it for her because of her school fees. So if we have a delivery, then I can take up a delivery or 2. If there's no delivery, I go on with my taxi till class time. I try to end my day by around 9 or 10 p.m. That's when I go home. Because I'm a mother as well, so I also try to keep the balance. You know, I don't have to do like taxi the whole time, like after my work. Sometimes I choose, you know what, I also have a child, so you know she needs me at the end of the day, so sometimes I just put it off and just go. Come to think of it, I don't know how I actually came to become this entrepreneurial woman, because at some point I was feeling so frustrated with life, especially at KMTC when I had to drop out of school. Passengers flying to Kilimanjaro holding yellow boarding cards. I hustled a lot, and then I also wanted to have my sister, like not live the life that I had gone through, because in college it was really frustrating. I didn't have school fees, I didn't have accommodation, it was really bad. You don't have to go borrowing money or this sponsor thing generation, this Lake Queen generation. Actually, you know, at the end of the day, I usually talk to my colleagues in school at Daystar. So I asked them, yeah, then you can slay. I can also slay. I mean, but you know, I feel as if at the end of the day, you will grow old. Then what will you have to show for it? Because you'll not be young forever.
Kariobangi Sharks will be the first Kenyan Premier League side to host an English Premier League club in the country when they take on Everton this afternoon at the Kasarani Stadium. And I should have probably said right at the top that this is now time for sports news. Kariobangi Sharks won the Sport Pesa Cup in January to get a chance to play Everton, who jetted into the country early Saturday morning. The historic match will kick off at 4 p.m. and will be aired live on NTV with the build-up from 3:25 p.m. Makori is on site. Makori, what are you looking forward to?
Olive, nimekuwahi kwa njia safi kabisa, niko katika anga na ardhi ya uwanja wa kimataifa Moi Kasarani, lakini kabla nikupashe tunakufahamisha ni nini kikubwa Kenya anatarajia hapa. Kuna taarifa ambayo imetokea kwamba mwanasoka mkongwe Joka Denge amefariki dunia, amelala katika mgongo wa ulimwengu hii leo akiwa na umri wa miaka 84. Amekuwa akiugua sana kwa muda mrefu. Joka Denge amefariki katika hospitali moja hapa jijini Nairobi mapema majira kama ya dhuhuri hivi, manake sio kitambo. Taarifa ambayo imetokea na mwanaye ndiye amethibitisha kwamba babake amefariki dunia. Joka Denge aliwahi kuichezea timu ya taifa kabumbu Harambee Stars ambayo tayari imekwisha kutemwa nje ya dimba la mataifa Afrika na Misri, nao jana walitemwa, lakini Joka Denge amefariki na alitumikia AFC Leopards. Ni mmoja kati ya wanasoka ambao kiukweli wataishi kukumbukwa daima dawamu katika soka ya hapa nyumbani. Tuachie mbali ya Joka Denge na kutoka kitengo kizima cha NTV michezo ni kwamba makiwa kwa jamaa, ndugu na marafiki. Lakini hapa katika uwanja huu wa kimataifa Moi Kasarani ni mechi babu kubwa kati ya timu ya Kariobangi Sharks na mabingwa mara 9 wa ligi kuu ya kandanda ya England waite Everton, ambao tayari wamekwisha kuingia. Wanaongozwa na kocha mkuu Marco Silva sambamba na mshambulizi matata Theo Walcott. Leo hii watakuwa nakipiga mechi ya kimataifa, hii tuite ya kimataifa Grafiki dhidi ya Kariobangi Sharks. Kariobangi Sharks walipata nafasi ya kukutana na hawa Everton, ikiwa kwamba ni mdhamini mmoja tu Sport Pesa katika lile dimba la Sport Pesa katika uwanja wa taifa jijini Dar es Salaam, ikiwa ni Januari tarehe 27. Bao lake Harrison Mwendwa la dakika 60 likawapa tiketi ya moja kwa moja ya kukutana na Everton wakati huo kikipiga na Bandari FC. Kumbuka mechi hii itafungua milango yake majira ya saa 10 hivi, lakini kwa sasa mashabiki wengi tu tayari wamekwisha kujaajaa kwa faida ya kushuhudia hawa wanasoka wa klabu hii ya Everton ambao kiukweli pia ni mabingwa mara 5 wa kombe la FA kule England. Kwa sasa ni kwamba mashabiki wangali wanaingia na inaonesha dhahiri kwamba Wakenya wanapenda kandanda, isipokuwa timu yao ya taifa iliondolewa katika dimba la mataifa Afrika. Lakini watafanyaje? Wataingia hapa washuhudie Kariobangi Sharks, waishabikie ikiwa ina window ushindi muhimu. Timu zote mbili zinajiandaa kushiriki ligi tofauti, manake Kariobangi Sharks ligi ya kandanda hapa nyumbani ambayo tayari kalenda yake imeoana kabisa na mataifa mengine, alafu hapa Everton watakuwa wanajiandaa kwa msimu mpya wa ligi kuu ya kandanda Uingereza msimu wa mwaka 2019 na 2020. Mechi ambayo utaipata moja kwa moja ndani ya NTV kuanzia majira ya saa 9 hivi. Nitakuwa najaajaa studio kufanikisha hilo, na kochi wangu John Njogu tayari ananiambia yuko njiani kufanikisha hilo, lakini kwa sasa narejea moja kwa moja hadi studio.
Are you as excited as Makori? All the best to the Kariobangi Sharks. Now, as I said a little bit earlier, the match will kick off at 4 p.m. and will be aired live on NTV with the build-up from 3:25. Egypt has sacked head coach Javier Aguero following their shock elimination in the round of 16 at the Africa Cup of Nations. The Egyptian Football Association President Hani Abdourida also announced his resignation and confirmed the departure of the entire technical and administrative staff. South Africa knocked the host Egypt out of the Nations Cup and booked their place in the quarterfinals with a late winner in Cairo, with Egypt throwing players forward looking to get a goal. Thembin Kosi struck on the counter-attack with 5 minutes left. Egypt have followed